Hello again there, guys. Today we're going to be talking about another device. I'm going to give a quick review of it after I give some specifications, and that is the LG Intuition from Verizon. The Intuition, otherwise known as the VS950 by LG, is a 5-inch phablet, and you know I hate that word. It's a phone that is essentially the size of a tablet. Now, like I said, this is a 5-inch true XGA IPS display, so it is beautiful. The resolution XGA is 1024 by 768. It comes packed with a 1.5 GHz dual-core processor, 1 GB of RAM, 32 gigabytes of built-in storage, a very decent sized 2080 mAh battery, an 8 megapixel rear-facing camera and a 1.3 megapixel front-facing camera, and a couple of tablet-type suggestions that come with it, a stylus, and a couple of NFC tags. We'll get to these things a little while later. It's running Android 4.0.4 Ice Cream Sandwich, so it has not received the update to Jelly Bean yet. I haven't actually seen anything as to whether or not it's even going to receive that update, but I can only assume that it will because it is such a new device. And the one thing you've probably noticed, I mentioned the screen resolution, I mentioned the size, and you can see it on the screen. It's 4:3 aspect ratio, and that's what really sets it apart from the majority of the other phones and tablets out there on the market. The majority of the others are 16:9, 16:10, ratios kind of like that. This one's 4:3, which should kind of throw you back to the old CRT days. Now that's probably about enough talking about the device specifications. Let's go ahead and talk about the review of it and my opinions of it after using it for 2 weeks. First and foremost, performance. It is an extremely good performer, very fluid, very smooth. Applications ran very well, albeit the resolution was a little awkward. I'll get to that in a minute when I talk about form factor. Battery life was excellent in just average use, everyday use, not using it a ton, but using it, at work, using it at home, things like that. 2 days of battery life for me. That's, like I said, I'm kind of a casual user. And that being said, like I said before, I have the Galaxy Nexus you can see over here beside me. When I take it to work, I don't get any sort of cell phone signal at all. I don't get 3G, 4G, not even 1X. And my battery dies pretty much by 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon. This puppy was able to last the entire day, every day. I never charged it at work, and I was able to come home, and at the end of the night, it would be at about 40 to 35%. So that's a heck of a battery. In terms of the screen, like I said, it is a 4:3 aspect ratio, 1024 by 768. Very nice to look at. Videos were very, very awkward to watch because, like I said, 4:3, most of the videos you're going to be watching are probably going to be 16:9, be it on YouTube or something that you've put on the device yourself, or something that you've captured on the device yourself. You're going to have the black bars above and below it. I know a lot of people have been complaining about the iPhone 5 because they've changed the resolution, made it different, so a lot of apps, a lot of videos, things like that, are all going to have black bars on the sides. Well, now this device has them on the top and bottom. In terms of using it as a phone, didn't use it as a phone a whole lot, just haven't made a whole lot of phone calls in the last few weeks. I did talk to my dad because he's been out of town a lot. I've talked to him several times on this, and call quality was not amazing. Like I said, I use the Galaxy Nexus. The call quality on that is just amazing. Sitting in the exact same spot, using the same service. I call through Google Voice the majority of the time. Kind of staticky, kind of grainy sound. In terms of just general audio playback, it's not a big deal. I've used the speaker. I think I tried using the speakerphone when I was on the phone with him, and it was still kind of staticky. So it's like the cell service, maybe the antennas are kind of wonky in here. But then again, whoever uses their phones as a phone anymore these days? I mean, it's called a phablet for a reason. God, that word kills me. Now, briefly talk about the cameras. The 8 megapixel rear-facing camera is capable of doing 1080p video. I did a quick test of it the first day I got it, and here's the result. Okay, this is the 1080p rear-facing camera. Can't see what I'm recording, but it's a big enough device that I can kind of hold it at one specific angle and be alright. I'm just going to move around a little bit to get different lighting, see how that is affected. I hope I'm avoiding the microphone. I should be. Like I said, it's a big enough device that it should not be an issue, but we'll see what happens. And the front-facing camera will only do 720p video. I say only, that's still pretty decent. Here's the result of that video test. Just a quick test clip from the front-facing camera on the Verizon, whatever this is, the LG Intuition. This is recording at 1280 by 720. I'm just changing the lighting a little bit because I had the softbox relatively close to me, as you can see there. Doesn't look bad here. Not sure how it's going to look on the other side. I'll go ahead and try the 1080p next. Didn't really do much in terms of outdoor shooting with it or anything, but it's pretty safe to say that the results that I'm getting in here, outdoors and daylight, you're going to get much better results. In darker scenarios, you're going to get much worse results, but that's kind of to be expected. It is a cell phone camera. And I think the last thing I'd like to mention is just the form factor, the design, all the fun stuff like that. One thing, it does not have a removable back, at least not as far as I can tell. I've poked and prodded and pulled, and I have not been able to pull that thing off, so I can only assume it is not a removable battery. There's a couple of buttons on the top here. It looks like buttons at least. The one here on the front-facing, it's the left side of the device, is a quick memo button. When you hit that, it takes you into a screenshot of whatever's going on the screen at the time. You can draw on it with the stylus. Now we get to the stylus. That's all well and good, although I did find myself hitting that by accident an awful lot. The other seeming button on the top of this device, aside from the on-off button, is not actually a button at all. It's the USB port that's hidden under a little slider. So that's a little awkward, but actually kind of cool because it does help keep dust out of the port. In terms of the rest of the device, it is very thin, very sleek, very nice looking. The biggest problem that I have with it, obviously, is that it's a 4x3 screen, which means it doesn't want to fit into a pocket particularly well. It's not comfortable if you put it in a pocket. And honestly, more often than not, I found myself sticking this in my backpack that I take to work with me every day, and sometimes even forgetting it was there simply because it was in the backpack. So I would get it out later in the day. Oh no, I forgot I was supposed to be using this. It didn't happen particularly often, but there were several days where oh no, I forgot it in the backpack. Simply because it is too large to fit in a pocket. If you're carrying a purse, if you're carrying something that you're going to be rifling through particularly often, a fanny pack perhaps, then you might make better use of this than I did. Also, like I said, that 4x3 resolution doesn't lend itself particularly well to videos, but apps, they scale surprisingly well. There's actually a setting built into the menus where you can go in and force the app to scale itself to work in the 4x3 aspect ratio. Most of the apps, it did it on its own. I'm guessing that maybe going in there and forcing it does the opposite. Didn't have a reason to do it. There was only one app I found that did not automatically rescale itself. I'm sure there are more, but I didn't test every single app on the market. And that app was McPixel, which is a relatively fun game that's relatively inexpensive. But yeah, when I played McPixel, I had black borders on the top and bottom, and it was very awkward. But realistically, form factor aside, it was a very powerful device with excellent battery life and a decent camera that makes okay phone calls. The majority of people I talked to about it, and majority of people I showed it to, said, why would you ever want something like that? It's so ridiculously large and weird shaped. But then there was this one person, this one guy that I work with, who saw it and immediately said, I love that phone, I have to have one, where can I buy it? So it apparently does appeal to a certain market. It doesn't necessarily appeal to me, but I know there are people that, like I said, do enjoy that. Oh, and one thing I completely forgot to mention, completely didn't even throw out there, NFC tags came with this. The device does have built-in NFC, and there are two different tags, one for office and one for car. And when you scan the barcode, when you scan the NFC tag, it puts you into that mode. So you're supposed to slap one in your car. When you hop in the car, you tap it, and then it puts your device into car mode. Like, it'll automatically bring up navigation, it'll bring up all of that other fun stuff that cars do. When you tap the office mode NFC tag, it puts it in office mode, of course, and you get your office-specific applications. I think you might be able to change the email accounts that are currently active, and just all sorts of different settings. You can pull it all up from the menu, you can configure all those different modes, and you can turn it off from the notifications bar. So it's kind of a useful feature. Personally, it doesn't really fit with the way that I use a device, but I could see it being useful for the office professional type person, or the person who works at home maybe. That would be kind of cool. You know, sitting at your desk and I need to be in office mode. Boop! And then you're in office mode. You go to the car and you've got a specific music player you want to start up, or you've got your navigation that you want to have automatically happen and navigate you to work. With newer versions of the OS, of course, you get Google Now, which this does not have because, like I said, it's a 4.0. Google Now by default will pop up and tell you, by the way, you're going to work. I noticed that. Do you want me to show you traffic stuff? So I don't know how useful that will necessarily be. I'm sure, like I said, there will be somebody who that will be useful for. So in terms of the overall impression, like I said, very, very fast, not the fastest device out on the market. I compared it with a benchmark to my Galaxy Nexus and it blew it out of the water, but it did not stack up to things like the Galaxy S3 or I'm sure the HTC One X and all the newer top-end devices, because it's not an ultra high-end device. It's a dual-core phone. It's going to behave like a dual-core phone. It's not using one of those hyper-optimized dual cores that perform like a quad-core. In terms of recommendation, I honestly am not going to recommend it simply because of the form factor, but I'm sure, like I said, there will be some of you out there that like this 4x3 screen, some of you who this appeals to. I'm not sure who that is, but like I said, I'm sure that you are out there. But that's going to be about all from me for today. I'm going to be sending this out to Verizon tomorrow morning, and if you have any further questions, feel free to let me know in the comment section below. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.